them come. This is their fate.
But anyway, moving on. Next thing I wanted to talk about was Quest 2. The Quest, Meta Quest 2. It's $100 price hike, and I've never like really seen a technology item that's been out for this long really get that type of price hike. Um, Obviously, Facebook is not doing the greatest. They put a lot of money into Meta, the online infrastructure of that VR system. It's a lot of money, and obviously they're bleeding because not a lot of people are advertising. At the end of the day, it's an advertising company. If people stop buying and people stop, caring to buy, these companies are getting tighter and tighter margins. First thing that gets cut is advertisement, mostly likely. You would think there would be more spending in it, but most of the time they cut advertisement and try to hopefully hope for the best that their customer base has grown enough to keep them sustained. That is usually the norm. So Facebook bleeding. It's a recession. Obviously, it's not formally announced, but we've had two um, negative. I think the negative. Yeah, negative. Shoot, now I'm trying to remember the thing. GDP is it GDP? I don't really know. I think it's GDP. And I should know this, but I don't care. But yeah, we have reported two negative quarters. So that is basically an indication that we are in a recession. But yeah, MetaQuest simply was like $100 more. Obviously, by far, is still the cheapest VR system, probably the most advanced VR system, and I think it should have been $600 from the beginning, but it ain't. It was $300, and that's where it started, and that's where they left it. So that's where we're going to start at. I'm not going to talk about the actual value of the device because I always told it was the best deal in VR. But we're going to talk about providing a product for a certain amount of money once a recession hit, up hike in that, and whether or not that could be impactful to any other console systems or technology outside of it. From me saying all of that about the GDP and like all of the recession and all that crap, what is your guys' thoughts on the Quest 2? And we're going to start with Josh. What is your thoughts on simply them raising the price? Like,
Yeah, I think it's a bad look overall, even though I understand the reason behind it. Because like with the economy worldwide, things have been weird for a while, and now we're feeling the impact because like
mm-hmm.
governments try to reduce it with like stimulus and different things with like people going into quarantine, but all that is like having different effects around the world, and now we're gonna start feeling it in other places. So companies are gonna do what they can to maximize profit or at least recoup losses that they're getting right now. So the MetaQuest was a really good VR system. Like you said, it was priced lower than probably what it should have been just to get people into the ecosystem. That's what
Yep.
companies always do. Like the Xbox and PS5 probably should be more expensive than they are, but they have to keep it low to get people to buy it.
Exactly.
But so you're gonna start to see where companies aren't getting as big a profit margin, so they wanna try to hopefully get some of that back. And you could see more technology get price raise. Like I was saying earlier, the iPhone, they've been increasing their price over time.
Mm-hmm.
But I have never seen it happen to a product that's already out, like you said.
Yeah.
'Cause the MetaQuest 2 or whatever has been out like a year and people have been able to buy it. It's probably on sale somewhere for maybe a little cheaper than MSRP, and
Yeah.
now they're gonna raise it, and so it's just really weird because like for the consumer, there's no benefit to you. It's like they're just taking more money from you,
Exactly.
and you're not really getting anything out of it. Where in the past, like I think Jalen might have brought it up, they usually just redesign it or at least make you feel like it's a new product and oh we gave you more storage or we gave you it's a different color or it's called elite or something like that just to give the customer a benefit. And that my whole point is that I I don't mind if they raise the price. It's probably necessary, but they're not. They're taking advantage of their customers in this sense where they're not actually.
Providing uh, an actual benefit. They're just raising
Yeah.
the price. Now there is and let me shoot to Jalen before I make my next point. Jalen, what do you think about the price hike in general?
Nah, y'all know I'm cheapy McCheapskate, Mr. Frugal himself. I'm not just playing. But no, like in all seriousness, I think it's important to take like a step back and realize like what is electronics and or technology and you know what I'm saying and just like really analyze it. Like technology from the start to finish, technology got like a real short lifespan. Like because there's constantly always something else that's coming out that's going to be better. And with
Yeah.
that shorter lifespan, and something's always been better. Like they come on iPhones every year, Androids every year, TVs every year. Like in the midst of like the PlayStation and Xbox and stuff, they probably we assume that they're gonna come out with a PlayStation 5 Pro or you know what I'm saying, just
Yeah.
something greater
Xbox
gonna
Series
come out
X
or
One,
whatever.
yeah.
Yeah, so like with that being said, and the lifespan being short, you can't put something out with a short lifespan and then have it be in the midst of its lifespan and then you just randomly be like, hey, it's gonna be a price increase. If you're gonna come out with something like that, it usually needs to be like what Josh was saying, like I guess he took my words, but not but it needs to be some sort of upgrade. It needs to be some sort of benefit to the consumer, even if they just if they we had talked a little bit about like the PlayStation 5 maybe or Xbox might have to get an increase because it's necessary for the company to be sustainable, right?
Right.
But they can't come out with a PS5 doing the same thing and you still got 825 gigabytes. Like they at least need to be like, whoa, this PS5 is a terabyte. The example that I had used before was I remember at one point in time, like I don't know if it was like not this last holiday, but the holiday before or like 3 holidays ago, the PS4s they was hard to find. Like they was I think they was hard to find or people couldn't find them as much. And I remember at one point in time, the PS4s had became cheap. Like the Slims was out. They was cheap,
Yeah.
but I think it was like the 500 gigabyte Slims. But then the PS4 price went back up, and I had looked into it a little bit, and then I had found out that they came out with the Slim terabyte. So like technically, you get them more. They took off all the regular PS4s off the market and stuff like that. Only accessible one is the terabyte now. So now it's like, all right, well, I'm getting a skinnier PS4. I mean, you could argue if that's really a benefit, but I mean, it's convenient, right? It
Yeah.
probably way less, different things like that. And then you got more space now. Now you got double the space. For people that don't know about space and how much, what I'm saying, it should really cost to like double it and stuff like that. I mean, we know a little bit more about it, but I mean, it was a little bit more appealing to the people, especially if they just wanted to play a PS4 versus, like, well, this PS4 been out for a minute. The old one, they be like, yeah, well, we finna pay 500 for it now just because, like, Sony need more money. Like that don't make sense. So the fact that now bring it back full circle to MetaQuest, it just don't make sense for them to not give you anything. I know y'all had said a little bit they gave them a $30 MSRP game or $30, and they increased it the whole MetaQuest $100, but it's still like you still coming out with dated technology, and you charging more people like charging more money for it. So I mean, I don't think it's right. Personally, they should give you a little bit more, something that could save them more money, something they could cut costs with, but still make the consumers feel like they're getting something, especially a piece of technology that people not buying like that. It'd be different if it was something more mainstream, something that people really, really wanted. Because I'm sure it has been done in the past, but it's been something that was like deeply wanted, but not like a MetaQuest. I mean, cats just don't want it for real. So
Yeah. Now, and I am in agreement with most of what you said. And now I want to shift to that business aspect. So it has been, they have mentioned that they are planning on coming out with a newer product by the end of the year. Technically, what they have done for themselves, that they have dug themselves a hole of competing with said self. If they only can compete with said self, and they have tried to keep the price of the Quest and Quest 2 similar throughout their years, if they come up with a better technology and it's not as of an incremental, it's only an incremental change and not a big change, what causes them to allow them to charge more? Why wouldn't people run to the Quest 2? What they're doing now is they are literally creating their price format in the midst of the cycle of their newer console. They want to increase the price. They want to do it with incremental changes, and this is my opinion. And they're going to do so by one, causing the older one to seem less advantageous because then now it's more expensive, and then you're going to bring out something with more incremental. Maybe it's a higher resolution and can do just some things a little bit better. Now they have set themselves up to fall into that space of the iPhone, where they no longer have to compete with what else is out there. Maybe this is what would cause them, because I still think they're selling it for they're selling it at a loss, in my opinion. It's a VR headset for $300, and it does so much, and it's all wireless, right? It's like computing, everything is in-house. It's all housed in. That is very hard to do at a cheap price. So, and that's why, PlayStation hasn't announced theirs. There's probably going to be like $600 guaranteed, probably like $500, the same amount as the console itself. I can almost guarantee that. Now that they're pricing themselves into this wedge, they can raise the price without much recourse, even though they already have pretty much they have already gained the amount of money that they plan on gaining from the Quest 2. What they don't want to do is that the people that currently have the Quest 2 to feel okay about their purchase. They want them to feel like want for the next. So they got to have something to push them to the next. And one of those things could be, or the newer people that's coming in, is to raise the price on the old, cause that other one to level up a little bit more, which you get so much more benefits. And that could essentially eat the price that it costs for them to truly make those quests and sustain themselves, because they are bleeding. That makes a lot of sense to me, but obviously it's in poor taste, because if you thought you could sustain yourself, like, who's doing your forecasting? If you're thinking you could sustain yourself through a certain period of time, and you felt like it was all trajectories were going up, what is the forecast of the worst case scenario? Why not budget that into the price point of your quest immediately? Why even uptick this one when you know if you do the right things on the next quest that you're saying is coming out this year, why not push those price updates to that device? Do you think because it's such a substantial change and difference that people would not even consider that one and just go with the one that you made very well refined? Because, like, don't get me wrong, these Meta Quest and these Quest and Quest 2 are really good devices. They're not made to be torn up. I've had mine for a very long time. Granted, I don't play it that much, but even if I turn it on now, I turned it on a couple weeks ago with my brother, and everything still worked. Everything worked fine. So I don't think they're making terrible products. I just think that they, again, cause themselves to compete with themselves. And now that they're trying not to do that or make it seem more level-headed, they're raising the price on the old to introduce a better price that could fit their pricing model. And on top of that, the sense of the sense that they're already giving away this product for a bad price makes them want to do this more. So I could have saw this coming more than I could see this coming for the next thing we're going to talk about within this same topic about the other consoles. But yeah, I guess business wise, that would be my take. Understanding that is a business decision, understanding that that's what's the best for that company. You guys can take it as you want, but that's all I kind of wanted to say on the business point of it. I get the fact that everyone is going to feel a way about it, but they have to course correct. And in order for them to course correct, they have to do something in order for them be able to justify the next one coming out at a higher price. And I think this upgrade here is what's going to cause that next price to look a little bit better in the eyes of the consumer. Sucks still though, because, and that's where I say, if you want a Meta Quest, get one now. I don't think the next one is going to be much better. I honestly think it's going to be an incremental change, but they're price adjusting in order to sustain the production of that thing, production of the Meta Quest environment, production of Meta in itself, which is, I don't know, very strange to put all your eggs in VR right now. People still get stomach sick. People don't like it that much. People aren't comfortable in the VR space just yet. Obviously, we're going to a digital age where everything is going to be digital, and not a lot of stuff is going to be it's going to be interactions that's digitally done versus interaction that's in a setting. But people still love the outside. There's still old people. There's not like young people that's going to take this on. Even myself, I enjoy getting out. I have transitioned from someone that is love being at home to someone that loves being out. And that has happened over the course of the last 4 years. And that was not during my, younger age self. It was during my older age self when I get into that maturity of, growing up, understand that there's more than life than sitting in a house. There's more than life than just, chilling and being at home. Do I like it a lot? Yes. But is it something that I want to do on the day to day? No. So that VR whole transition and being all you can be within that VR system, it's going to be a hard sell for a long time. So they have to course correct, and they have to do it fast. And this is the most abrupt thing I've ever seen in technology in a while. So yeah, this made all the sense to me from a business aspect.
Yeah, like you said, from a business sense, it makes sense, and I fully understand it. It's always a fine line you have to walk with like public perception for your
Yeah,
products,
absolutely,
because you don't
absolutely.
want customers to feel burned or like they're getting I'll just say shafted on their purchase, because like
Hmm.
buyer's remorse is real and people are always gonna like reconsider these big purchases. And if your price is gonna increase with this one, it's like, okay, well, actually, maybe I should not buy the Oculus 3. I should buy the
Hmm.
Oculus 4, because they're gonna just keep changing stuff, like raising prices or discontinuing stuff year by
Yeah.
year. That makes consumers, even though it might not be rational, it makes consumers uneasy, and that's never what you want to happen for your expensive product. Whereas at least
Absolutely.
when consoles do the same thing, they're trying to smooth it over. Like, here's a obvious benefit. We just doubled your storage or whatever. And that makes people feel a little more comfortable, even though the reasons behind it aren't the same.
Now, um, and I agree with a lot of that. Now, for the consoles, what are you guys' takes on what will those ever see a price hike? I know before I get into my decision, I would like to hear what you guys think about it. Let's go with Jalen. What do you think about the Xbox or the PS5 ever receiving a price hike?
Um, I mean, obviously, as a consumer, I want the lowest price possible, especially if we've been cheapy but cheapskate. But from a business standpoint, they got to do what they got to do in order to sustain themselves. If I don't want to invest in what is my money, I can do whatever I want. But obviously, I need to understand like society, inflation, everything else that comes with it, and the price hikes that are going to be imminent, right?
Mm-hmm.
My only thing is I don't want to pay for something that I'm like the whole technology thing. I can't pay for something that y'all give me the same. If I got an iPhone 12 right now and then the iPhone 12 come out a year later, it's the same one and it's doing the same exact thing and it ain't got no different insights in it, or at least it tricked me per se. I'm not gonna get tricked, but as a consumer to make me feel tricked or whatever, blah blah blah, that I'm getting something more, then I mean I can't bang with it. But if they're, I might have phrased that wrong. If they're not going to like do any of that, then I can't rock with it. If they are going to try to show like, we care, blah, 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 then that's fair. I mean, because the company can't keep making these things if they're not getting the revenue they need in order to make the things. You know what I'm saying? So it's like,
Yep.
you got to give to get kind of. So I understand all of that. And then, but I also understand that as companies, sometimes they got different connections. They can get stuff in bulk, where they get it directly from the manufacturer, where they get it at a certain price because in a life of a product, retail is like the last step of the life of the product, and retail is going to cost the most, and it's going to cost, and it's for the people that made it, the people that transported it, the workers that got it, what I'm saying, all that type of stuff. You paying for all that stuff for retail or whatever. So
Yeah.
if they get in a little terabyte, it's going to cost. Let me just go to PlayStation. They got 825 and they got a terabyte. The PlayStation is 500 now. If they can get a terabyte, it might cost them maybe from 825 to a terabyte. It's going to be maybe like $5 or something like that. Well, I can't go. I mean, I could go buy a hard drive and all that type of stuff, but I can't do that. I don't have the powers or the expertise to go put a terabyte in a PlayStation. So I'm gonna have to go pay that $100 difference and stuff like that if I want another one or whatever that may be. But that's fine though because I'm getting more than what I got before. Obviously they can do a lot more different things and stuff, but you just can't be packaging the same thing and be like, yeah, bro, we got a new box, big dog. Like, come get this $600 PlayStation. Like, so
Yeah. 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 So from my standpoint and from what I see for the PlayStation and the Xbox, as I don't foresee them ever having a price hike. I think they're a lot smarter than Facebook. Facebook is a newer company. Microsoft and Sony been around for a while. They make decisions that are smart and they make educated choices. They're going to do a PS4. They're going to do a PS5 Pro before they do a PS5 hike. They're going to do an Xbox Series X Pro before they do a Xbox hike. They're not. They're smart to know that their money is not in the consoles. They're smart to know that they're software based. Facebook, unfortunately, had the bright idea to sell a product well worth its money for a much cheaper price. Obviously, Xbox and PS5, they tried to hit the best that they can do. Their Xbox is going to make money off of the Xbox Series S sales, as well as production and the value of the production or the supply chain. As it loosens and things become a little bit better made and faster made and easier to make, and the products and things that they need are becoming cheaper and cheaper. That is tends to what happened, and then they can make the product different, and that's usually when you get a redesign. A redesign is nothing more than them, getting cashing in on the opportunity to better make it and make it for cheaper. So you get more plastics, you get less automation, you get those, you get the PS4, those things, those touch sensitive crap. Put a button on that mug, make it cheaper. So that's what they do. That is how they make money off of the console. But the product itself isn't that. It's the ecosystem. I think that they have a much better handle on it. I think I will never see a price hike from these two large companies. I don't think I see it from a Nintendo. They're smarter than that. But it, I can see technology in itself. Like they have, the fortunate thing for certain companies like Apple, Google, Samsung is they have tricked the consumer into believing that they're putting out better products, and that is the case. So they have tricked you into believing that this yearly update is needed. It is never needed. It is just like their Mac computers. It is just like their PCs. You don't need it. But people think they do, and they have tricked in marketing, success, the ability to upgrade through your companies or through your providers have allowed this buffoonery to continue. So everybody thinks that they need the latest and greatest to do the same thing that they did a month and a half ago is scroll Instagram and put up pictures. That's pretty much it. You're basically buying a camera every year. But they have tricked you, and that's fine. That's really fine. But these companies, it's really hard to trick us. At this point, we have an understanding of what we need in order to play our better games. The they have hit they have hit a position where what have you done for me lately means the most to pretty much both of these councils. Like if you're not doing the latest and greatest and the other council is doing that and you guys are competing for the same market, it's really hard to start to trick people. MetaQuest unfortunately had the stake and the money to blow every other VR system out the water. Like nobody talks about them other VR systems because they're way too expensive and they have the lack of functionality that is necessary. They're competing with themselves, so that is why I see that price hike. Um, I just will never think I will ever see it for these two things. So yeah, I mean that's my take. I'm sorry I jumped over you, Josh, but what do you think about the PS5 and the Xbox price hikes?
No, I agree. Like, I expect at some point having these same conversations about how to recoup their money and stuff like that, but they would approach it in a much smarter way. Like the PlayStation 5, obviously the SSD is really good and it's probably like actually very expensive, so they might not be able to double the storage, but they'll think about other ways to make a PS5 more attractive, like reduce the cost of like making the console,
Yeah.
making it slim or giving out software or stuff like that, that overall makes a big difference to consumers. Because
Hmm.
even if, you go to Best Buy to buy a PS5, but if Sony's like, we're going to give you 5 free games, it's like, that's enough to convince like, moms or whoever buying these systems for their kids that it's a value add versus, a $600 PS5 that's just a PS5.
Yeah, like they're bundling the Horizon edition with the PS5 right now, and they're charging a little bit more. I think it's $100 more, or $50 more, and at the end of the day, that's just a digital key that they are just giving away for that amount, but it's not saving you much. You just think it is, and
Mhm.
um, that is what they proven to do time and time over and over again. I think that's going to continue to happen, and once if we would really they would really have to be struggling in order for that to ever occur, and I just honestly don't see that happening. I think they're a little bit more better at forecasting and understanding their market and what they need to sell, and their focus right now is just getting the councils in the homes. They don't have the problems that MetaQuest have. MetaQuest has probably stock sitting on the shelves that's not being moved, and they're probably understand that they've reached the end of their line when it comes to people purchasing day to day, and now
Mhm.
they're adjusting for that next step. So
And they put all their
Correct,
money on VR. That might
yeah,
not have been a good idea.
no, I
correct me
don't
if
think
I'm
it was a
wrong,
good idea.
but my bad. Correct me if I'm wrong. Just when it comes to like technology, or like I guess in a like realm of technology, you got hardware and software.
Mhm.
I feel like I heard somewhere that companies make more money, like they make more money on the software than they do the hardware. Not because like obviously the hardware you might buy it once, or you know what I'm saying. It's always like the what is I'm trying to think. I think it's the accessories that they sell, and then the software that's
Yeah.
usually cheaper that like than it costs to make the hardware. So they don't really they want the hardware there so you can use those accessories and you can use the software and stuff that they develop and stuff like that. That's generally the case, right?
Yes.
Yeah, because accessories are the cheapest to make, but they have like a biggest profit margin because a $5 cable, like, Apple could sell it for 40 and you made $35 off that. Whereas software is expensive to make, but once you spend $100 million on God of War, you don't have to make it again. It just stays on the store and always like get you money. The problem with hardware is that it's expensive to make because they gotta order all the pieces and have the manufacturers make it and ship it and stuff. But they don't. It costs almost as much as they sell it for, and there's no real way to make money off that, and the cost doesn't really go down because they gotta like because all the steps, like what is it called, like the middleman. There's so many middlemen in that
Hmm.
equation that there's no way to like make money off hardware.
it's never a great business model, the hardware. It's always the ecosystem. So regardless of what people think, like the reason why the SE exists, the iPhone SE, is because they take a bunch of old hardware or and they repackage it and they sell it again as like a new product. But at the end of the day, it's the old casings. They have probably a bunch of those still laying around. It's easier to manufacture, and that's probably the most that the SE is probably iPhone's best selling or margin wise phone, because yes, they get you on their phones every year, and but they probably might have costs that associated with those newer models and production and all of that, versus having things that they already have in cases that they already made and then incorporating that into their lineup. I'm assuming the SE would probably be the biggest profit iPhone out there right now, because that is what they tend to do. Like that's the same model that you would have got with the PS3 Slim that had a sliding manual door versus that big PS3. Like the reason why it slides in manual is literally because it's cheaper. So as you make stuff cheaper but you keep it the same price, that's how you get your price on the hardware. But software, as Josh stated, is always out there. You spend your 100 million, you put it out on the store. It's always going to continue to make money. It's like the and that's it's not there's no middleman for that. You can either do it digitally and you can send out some you can do some prints, but at the end of the day, they usually stop that, and you're usually going to see used market, and it's only you can find that stuff digitally. So that is like literally cutting out every middleman possible, and that's always going to give you some more revenue. And then you obviously their subscriptions, accessories, things like that too.